traders, how's it going? Nick from Vant Trading here, coming at you with a little Sunday weekly stock prep. I'm going to go through the market, go through what economics to expect, what I'm looking at, what the futures are telling us going into another week of trading, some excellent earnings ahead, and then I'm going to give you both mine and Mike's favorite stock setups going into the week. I'm going to be hitting you with a lot of stocks. This came out late tonight because I was waiting for those futures to start printing, and I had to kind of get everyone's list together. The format of this will change in weeks going forward, but I'm going to be really laying on a bunch of charts that I'm looking at, some really good setups. I think there's going to be a lot of potential for profits this week. And, it's really going to be take anything that you want as educational, informational, entertainment, whatever. But, only what it fits you as a trader. I'm not telling you what to trade or how to trade. This is just some of the best setups that both myself and Mike see going forward. First of all, though, let's take a look at this market because, we're in a nice little consolidation up here. We closed near the lows. It was looking a little dicey, but we are trading higher in the futures. No surprise there. Now, we'll see where we are by the open tomorrow on Monday, but we are seeing those dip buyers step in after a relatively quiet weekend without any news really that can send the market down or in a panic or in a tizzy by any means. But we have a lot of news coming out this week. Economics to expect. Monday, you've got PMI and ISM, both manufacturing, construction spending. You'll have some factory orders on Tuesday, motor vehicle sales. That'll be interesting to see with inflation. ADP employment on Wednesday. You've got international trade and goods, services, and jobless claims on Thursday. That number has been missing pretty often now. But the big one is going to be on Friday, the employment situation. That is the one that keeps on missing. We keep seeing that labor supply shortage, and that's going to be something that Big Daddy Powell is going to be watching before Jackson Hole and before the next Fed meeting. This is going to be something important because Powell isn't just, and the Fed in general, isn't just looking at inflation, they're also looking at employment. And if employment doesn't improve itself, well then we're probably going to have to wait a little longer to see some tapering. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Fed reacts. So this is the situation that we have going into the week. We have another week of earnings. We'll see how the market reacts. We are, again, trading up to the high of this range. So be careful if you're trying to short this market. This is a euphoric market in terms of greed, FOMO, that fear of missing out, and it is a little dangerous in terms of how this market is behaving. But I would hope that we can see these value plays catch up. They are not really trading up at the highs in the futures right now in these kind of this Sunday night. The tech, however, is starting to rebound. We saw tech a little bit more weaker this last week. Let's be honest, tech has been the more overvalued. Tech didn't even reach the 50-day SMA on that last retest that we just saw in the SPY. This 50-day still our value zone. We're still seeing those buyers step in. Obviously, we need to be watching rates going forward. Need to make sure that we stay stabilized here and that some of these rates maintain themselves and maybe rebound to keep up with inflation. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be very interesting to see this market. Now, we have been seeing stocks start to catch up in terms of the amount of stocks trading above their 50-day SMA. It is finally starting to tick up. We need that to continue, though, if we think that this market can sustain itself. It cannot do it on the shoulders of the big boys for much longer. That's really what we've been seeing in the personality of this market. So we're going to be watching these internals very closely this week. Enough about the market. We'll see where we are on Monday when I do my morning market analysis. Let's talk about some of our favorite stocks out there and some of the setups on the daily. First of all, I'll go through Mike's picks. AMD. We have been loving AMD. It has been ignited since earnings. We'll see if this one can continue for much longer. It's kind of getting a little far now, so we may expect a couple days of chop, but so long as this gives us short-term opportunities, we'll take it. LRCX. Look at this beautiful kind of just wedging in here, getting a little tight. You can even draw some very gradually descending highs here. This is one of our favorite setups. If this thing can break through highs, a little pricey, but it does look promising. ENPH, this is another one that's sitting right here at a breakout point through 190. We could see some nice little continuation. You've got some room until the next resistance. UNH, United Health, just reported earnings recently. Trying its breakout. Healthcare has been very strong. Healthcare has been in a breakout, been an active sequence. We'd like to see UNH continue. It's nicely wedged on this little value zone of the 50. Got some descending highs here to watch. We need that volume to pop on in. Nucor is one of those stocks that's been pinned below its 50 for a couple of weeks to months and is finally breaking back out, getting to a little breakout point here. If this active sequence can continue, we're through that psychological 100 level, you got a little bit more room to run. We do have the Senate moving through to vote on the infrastructure package. This is an infrastructure play to an extent, so keep that in mind. Some value plays in commodities out there. X has been stuck below its 50 since June, and now we're finally breaking out. You've got some room to run. Inflation should be good for commodities like steel, and we're seeing some of those commodities start to get a little strength in there, so we want to see X continue potentially. We need that confirmation. Or Alcoa. This is another big boy out there who's breaking out nicely in active sequence. We want to see this continue, finally moving away from these moving averages. GLW touched off its 200-day SMA several times, breaking out through this resistance finally, looking really good in active sequence. We want to see this one continue through 42 this week and give us a little more momentum on the upside. MRVL, Marvell Technology, another one that broke out last week, has some potential. The volume needs to maintain itself, if not pick up, but I do like that we're making new highs in here while the market was chopping around. ALB, this is another one that's a little pricier for some people, but flagged nicely and is breaking out. I'm kind of hoping that this one pulls back to 200, gives us that confirmation and pop. But you know what? I'll take what I can get on this one. Volume is descending a little bit, so keep an eye on that. Tesla, yeah, who would have thought Tesla would be on our list? But Tesla finally is showing some life over these last 2 days, an active sequence. This is what we like to see. Earnings are out of the way. It's been quiet and dormant for several months now, so if Tesla can get active again, that's a good sign for the market and a good sign for EV. We need to see it get through this resistance, through that 700, and if that happens, we've got a ball game, folks. Some other stocks to look at. CDNS. This is one that's really kind of getting up to these highs here. Really nice 52-week highs in an active sequence, currently breaking out of a little weekly consolidation, looking really good there. And ACAM. This is a stock that actually reports earnings this week, and it's consolidating pretty nicely up here. Just had that whole issue where their servers went down. They recovered nicely, sitting up here at the highs. This one has some real potential to break out if it can get that follow through. Those are some of Mike's favorite charts setting up going into this week. He also mentioned two others, which was Home Depot, another favorite of mine. We're seeing it kind of hold these ascending lows right now really nicely. Kind of like Nucor, a little bit of an industrial play to an extent, but also retail. We're going into retail week of earnings. And Walmart. I am a big fan of watching Walmart here. It is hugging. Its consolidation is beautiful. Its moving averages are tight. Everything's tight on this one, and it's got some room to play catch up here. So I want to see Walmart get going. Its earnings are going to be soon. Target's been an absolute stud, so I think it's going to be time for some rotation into Walmart soon, hopefully. What are some other stocks that I'll be looking at? Well, I'm going to talk about a couple plays that have earnings this week, and then I'm hoping that some of these may break out or run in anticipation. NXPI, we talked about this one briefly. I like these descending highs. SPG, this is a mall REIT. Some people wondering why this one's performing so well. They own some really good property. I like these descending highs, and if it can get over the 50 tomorrow, it could run before its earnings Monday after the close. Sunoco, this is a gas station approaching highs up here. Oil and gas has been very strong. Marriott International. This is a reopening play, folks, and these reopening value plays have not been performing well, but look at these descending highs we just broke from. This is one of our favorite stock setups right now, is those descending high breaks that can lead to a multi-day run. I would like to see this continue into their earnings. Ralph Lauren, same kind of deal, some descending highs here that we're in the process of breaking. We saw a little life in it on Friday, tested off its 50. If this thing can get going and get over its 50, it could suddenly see some rotation. Activision Blizzard, this one's been in hot water lately. They have a big lawsuit hitting them after a 2 or 3 year investigation in California. A lot of big stuff happening. They have earnings this week, so it's going to be very interesting to see what they say, especially after this drop. Not sure which way I want to play this one yet, I'll be honest. We mentioned ACAM. Uber Uber recently breaking down a little bit, breaking through support, looking weak. They do have earnings this week, but the fact that we're breaking lower is going to be pretty interesting here. We heard that someone was liquidating a large position to cover some other position losses and some Chinese names that we've seen weakness in. So it's going to be curious to see what Uber does here. EA has been very, very tight and consolidatory in here. We're seeing these ascending lows look really appealing right now. If this thing can continue to hold into earnings, it could set up very nicely for us. Wayfair, this is a stock that I felt's been overvalued for some time. I called this out in the beginning of the year, said it's one of my most overvalued calls out there. Glad I mentioned that because this thing is not moving and it's currently dropping towards lows. If this thing continues to see this sell-off into earnings, it could get ugly, especially if they miss earnings. NRG, I love this position up here. It's a nice little energy company. If it can get through 42 prior to earnings, I think we could see a little bit of a breakout, or even after earnings. Myrna, this has been a stock I've been day trading for some time now. I think this thing is just ridiculous. It's retail. It's fun to day trade. A lot of potential in here. I would never recommend holding this thing overnight. It is batshit crazy, and it's frankly overvalued. But they have earnings this week, and if they report something and they move in a bad direction, we could see some serious profit taking in this one. It's going to be interesting to watch, but it is currently holding at the highs, so be careful. CTVA, another stock I don't normally trade, but I like these descending highs. I like that we're kind of holding on this 200-day. We'll see if it can set up better for us. Expedia, a little pricier, in that $100 range, but you've got some descending highs here. We're kind of nestled in here. I'm not looking too active right now, but things can change. Earnings right now can provide an ignition sequence that provides follow-through for several days. I want to see that in FireEye. Cybersecurity has been in the headlines lately. We've seen this thing whipping around based on headlines and hacks and all sorts of things happening. I think FireEye is just one really good earnings report away from potentially giving us some good day trading opportunities. We'll see. Big C, this is a play that I know Mike loves very much. He was hoping that the 70 would break. Didn't quite happen yet, but it is getting nice and tight. Look what it's done in the past. I want a good earnings statement, or I want some kind of momentum going into earnings. See if we can get some action. And finally, Norwegian Cruise Lines. This is another reopening play. The cruise lines have been down in the dumps lately. It does report earnings on Friday, so maybe we see some value in here. We've seen some of the value plays like Boeing actually surprise on their earnings, so maybe we see some value buyers step in here, but right now it's breaking lower, so I would never catch a falling knife on this, but I'll be keeping a close eye on it through the week. A couple more stocks that are setting up interestingly on the daily. Starbucks consolidating nicely after these earnings statements, looking like we might break lower. It's been a lot stronger than the market, so we could see some serious profit taking. Costco's been an absolute stud. Look at this active sequence in Costco. Might get a little overvalued. I think it's going to provide day trading opportunities in both directions, so I'll be trading this one probably every single day because it's been crazy. Twitter as well. Look at the Twitter on the hourly. Look at these descending highs. We got earnings out of the way. I would love to see this one get through 71, 71.50 and show us a little bit of pop after those earnings. Oracle setting up a very interesting head and shoulders here on the daily. I'll be watching this one in either direction. I want to see where this one goes. It's obviously been a little extended here. I would love to see how this one can break. Hershey setting up nicely against this 180. Just got earnings out of the way, so I want to see this one pick itself up through 180. Food plays have been doing pretty well with inflation and rise in prices. I want to see if Hershey's can get itself through 180 in an active sequence. Coca-Cola wedging up nicely after earnings. They filled their gap. I love that. That is something that is out of our hair, and we're kind of tightening in here. So I think if Coke can break, I'll play this in either direction, frankly. ANVS, a stock that's gotten the hell kicked out of it after bad news, touching on the 200 here. I'm just going to watch to see if we get a bounce. I am by no means trying to invest in this thing or dip buy, but I think we could get some short covering if this thing gets a little too hasty. Same deal with Sava. Sava's gotten a nice little haircut here. I'll be watching this one closely. It's been a good day trader regardless. I'll play this in either direction. Mattel setting up nicely in here. Nice little breakout after good earnings that led to a nice move. Filled its gap here. We're holding at this 22. I'll be watching that one for continuation. Juniper reported earnings as well. I want to see continuation through this little monthly high here. If it can break, I would like us to then hopefully test 29. BTBT, one of our small price stocks today. If the volume can can show itself, this thing could continue to run. Holding up nicely, breaking out towards the highs. This one has run in the past, so it gives me pause, and you've got pretty heavy resistance at the 200-day here, but it could be a good day trader on Monday. TBIO, another one that got the hell kicked out of it on Friday. I'll watch this one just to see if it sets anything up. And same deal with BAP. Nice little red bar on this. Got to the psychological $100 level, and we saw a little bit of a bounce. I just threw a lot of stocks at you. I know. And I didn't get a chance to really go through them because I didn't want this video to be 2 hours long. But there's a lot of stuff in play. Long story short, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. Now, if the market ends up cratering, if the market breaks up, that could influence the rest of these plays. So you got to keep that in mind. These stocks do not trade in a vacuum. So we got to be careful. We got to set our levels. These plays could provide us opportunity all through the week and beyond. A lot of these have earnings. I would highly recommend you don't hold anything into earnings. You never know. It's a gamble. But that's really going to be it. It's going to be a very interesting week of trading. We'll be here with you along the way, every step of the way. And I'll see you Monday through Friday for the morning market analysis and at 1 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday for our Vant Trading podcast. I appreciate you all for tuning in. And as always, safe trading.